Everyone has a personal thermostat. So you have your thermostat on, you've got it set at 72 degrees. If the temperature in the house drops below 72 degrees, what happens? The secret to living your life to its potential is creating and maintaining. All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Survive to Thrive. Grab pen and paper and let's get started. Without a compelling reason to choose otherwise. Without a compelling reason to choose otherwise, most people will take comfortable actions over uncomfortable ones.
True.
So true. You think about exercising. Exercising is not comfortable. If you set a time to go to the gym every morning at 6 a.m., I promise you, nobody's jumping out of bed and saying, woohoo, I get to go to the gym. I'm so excited. However, once you leave that gym, nobody has ever said, man, I wish I didn't go. Motivation always shows up after you do it. But without a compelling reason to choose otherwise, think about this. I've told you guys before how important are words. Pay really close attention. Without a compelling reason, the key word here is compelling. The question is your reason compelling enough that it would cause you to choose discomfort over comfort in order to achieve your goal? You know, most people, the answer is no. 100%. Most people, the answer is no. Most people will choose comfort until the pain of the status quo is greater than the pain of change. People will always choose the status quo. The secret to living your life to its potential is creating and maintaining a compelling vision. Again, pay attention to the words. Do you have a compelling vision? Creating and maintaining a compelling vision of the future that you want even more than you desire your own short-term comfort. All right, we're going to go back and look at this one again. I want you to really pay attention to this one line if you're taking notes. And by that question, you know I'm saying take notes. So if you're taking notes, you wrote down the secret to living your life to its potential. Pay attention. Living your life to its potential. So here's my question. What is your potential? Here's the next question. How do you know? How do you know? When I'm talking to a real estate agent and they're sharing with me their success, which is awesome, and I love celebrating their success, one of the questions that I will ask them is, have you reached your potential? What is your lid? And then the follow-up question is, how do you know? How do you know if you've reached your potential or not? Everyone has a personal thermostat. I want you to think about this for a moment, okay? A thermostat, you put a thermostat on in your house, and if you're in the United States, it's cold. Guys, it's cold in Florida. So if it's cold in Florida, I know it's cold everywhere else. So you have your thermostat on, you've got it set at 72 degrees. Now, if the temperature in the house drops below 72 degrees, what happens? The heat turns on. Okay, you have a thermostat. You have a personal thermostat when it comes to your success. There is a level of success that you're comfortable with. And if you go above that level, you are going to psychologically start sabotaging your own success because you're above your level of comfort when it comes to success. Now, you also have a financial thermostat. Your financial thermostat has a lot to do with how you were raised. If you were raised in abundance, you have a higher financial thermostat. If you were raised in poverty like I was, you have a lower financial thermostat. I mean, I remember when $100,000 was a whole lot of money. And I'm not saying it's not a lot of money today, okay? I'm not. But it certainly isn't what it was 30 years ago. And for somebody who grew up in a house where the household income was never greater than $25,000, $100,000 was way above my financial thermostat. You have a thermostat. Now, what do? Well, you have to raise that thermostat. You have to raise that thermostat so that you are, I don't want to say comfortable, but so that you expect expect to achieve above that thermostat without pulling yourself back down. All right, moving on. Align your short-term goals and plans with your long-term vision. Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to create that long-term vision. What does that look like? Now, if you're on this call and you're newer to real estate, you've been in the business for less than a couple years, and you're 30 years old, for example, your long-term vision is going to be a lot longer than mine. I mean, my long-term vision is 7 years, but your long-term vision could be 30 years from now. First of all, have you taken the time to sit down and write that out? Have you written down what that vision looks like? Have you written it out in detail? What does the house look like that you're living in 20 years from now? What does your family look like? What kind of legacy have you created? So then the next question is, have you aligned your short-term goals and plans with your long-term vision? Think about what you truly want to achieve. What legacy do you want to create? So I want you to write these down in questions, and I want you to write them down in questions as if you're writing them for yourself. In other words, what do I truly want to achieve? Write it down. What legacy do I want to create? Write it down. What do I want for myself and for my family? Write it down. What level of security do I want? So level of security, you're like, really, John? That's part of my vision, part of my goals. So here's a question for you. If something were to happen to you today and you couldn't sell real estate for the next 6 months, are you okay financially? God forbid, if something were to happen to you and you were no longer available to make the money that you're making for your family, does their quality of life remain what it is today without you? If this is uncomfortable, okay. And if you're not liking this exercise, okay. But there's something you could do about that. If you don't like the answer, change the answer. What level of income and fulfillment do you want from your career? It's not all about money, but it is about money. What level of income and fulfillment do you want from your career? Now, let's go back to that financial thermostat conversation, because you're going to write down a number and your subconscious, your self-talk is telling you it's not realistic. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. You got to be more realistic. You've got to be reasonable. Write down the number that you know you can accomplish. No, think big. You're gonna end up being glad you did or regret that you didn't, as long as you're thinking, as long as you're creating this vision. Create a big vision. Don't worry about the how, worry about the what, and the how will show up. By the way, on the subject of what level of income and fulfillment do you want from your career, there's going to come a time when that's not the question, because there's going to come a time when the amount of money you make isn't the conversation. I'll get to that in just a second. All right. What interests do you wish you could pursue? What do you really want to do with the time you have been allotted? What do you really want to do with the time that you have been allotted? Okay, finally, in order to achieve a level of performance that is greater than your current performance, you will need a vision of the future that is bigger than the present. In order to achieve a level of performance that is greater than your current performance, you will need a vision of the future that is bigger than the present. By the way, I'm going to go back to how I started. So many people don't like that. So many people are, I'm comfortable, I'm happy. Why? A greater level of performance doesn't always mean more production and more money. Okay, told you I was going to talk about this in just a moment. Depending on where you are in your real estate career, I promise you there is going to come a time. This is one of those things that you're probably not going to like, but oh well, here goes. You love selling real estate, you're successful, you're hitting your goals, you're crushing it. If you're in that group and you love your job, raise your hand. Raise your hand, right? Raise your hand. There is going to come a time, for all of you who raised your hand and for those of you who didn't but should have raised your hand, there is going to come a time when you don't like this anymore. I promise you. It was 15 years for me. At 15 years, I thought, if I have to go sit at one more kitchen table and wait one more listing presentation, no, no, I'm not doing this anymore. There is going to come a time when you want something else. There's going to come a time when you want to slow down and enjoy your life. If that day was today, could you stop? Could you? One of my least favorite real estate coaching conversations is with somebody who is absolutely crushing it. They're later on in their years, and I'll ask them, when are you going to slow down? Talk to me about what your plan for the future is. And the answer I get is, I can't slow down. Why? Why can't you slow down? Because if I stop selling real estate, my quality of life is going to change because I don't have the same amount of money. If I want to continue the life that I'm living now, I'm going to sell real estate until I die. Don't be the real estate agent who says, I'm going to do this until I die. Somewhere along the way, create a plan to create financial freedom and legacy wealth for your family. Do it before it's too late. If you haven't started doing that, do it today. All right, talk to me. Raise your hand. Questions, thoughts, ahas.
Hey, John, I didn't raise my hand, but
Okay.
you asked the
It's
you
okay.
asked the question,
Yeah.
and it says, "Why are so many people unhappy?"
Yeah.
And ties into your thermostat analogy.
Mm.
And to further that analogy, a thermostat is different from a thermometer, and a lot of people are walking around like thermometers.
Mm.
They're actually just reading the temperature of the room and kind of melding into that level because that's the ambient condition. A thermostat dictates, decides what the temperature will be. So 2023, 2024, a lot of people were thermometers. And, I can be guilty of that myself. A thermostat doesn't matter how many people are at the party, I'm getting my two slices.
That's right.
Be a thermostat.
That's right. Love that. And for those of you who don't know what Michael's talking about with the two slices, it's about getting your unfair share. And the whole conversation about the unfair share is if we have a party and there's 10 of us and we order two large pizzas, 20 slices, everybody gets two, right? The delivery man screws up the order and he only delivers one pizza with 10 slices. Are you still getting two? Are you still getting two? I don't know about you, but I am. The rest of you can figure it out because I'm going to get my unfair share. That has to be your mindset. Thank you for laughing, Matthew. Talk to me, Sean.
When I got into real estate in 2015, we had just bought a house, two girls, wife. And so I was, like, as I like to say, blowing and going. I was just, how many houses can I sell? I didn't have a long-term plan. My plan was just 5 feet in front of me. Next buyer, next seller, just go, go, go. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have slowed down and really made a long-term plan, because you can get stuck in that. Gain is always good, but you can just get stuck in doing just doing the business instead of working on the business. And that's what I've learned in the 2 years that I've been on this class, is to work on the business. Like, I've been in 2015, I got licensed. I still don't reach out to my past clients via email on their birthdays and stuff. I'm just going and going and going and going. Last year I started it. I'll finish it up this year, but it's been that kind of thing. I've always thought about legacy. I just had never really, I thought about it. I didn't actively water that plant to see, hey, how do I grow this legacy? How do I do those things and take time? That's what's been a lot of the beginning of this year, is just slowing down. That week that I wasn't on this class, or on this call, I was doing a lot of that. Like, let's just slow down, get a plan together, and let's hit 20 million next year, this
There you
year.
go. There you go. Talk to me, Birgit.
A lot of places I can go with this, but just two things I want to focus on. Remember, our brain loves safety. So we have to, anything that we do or don't do is our brain just allocates so many resources for us to stay safe. So when we push out of the comfort zone, it will come with that anxiety and all the feelings that comes with that for us not to do that because there's perceived danger. So that's number one. Keep your vision visual. So when you're building a vision and what you want for the next however many years, make it visual so you can actually see it and emotionally attach to it on a daily basis, so it doesn't become an afterthought, because an afterthought is like every most good business plans, and it ends up in a drawer and then we forget about it. So keep your vision in front of you. Vision board. That's why vision boards exist.
100%. Thank you, Birgit. Talk to me, Kimberly.
Hi, John. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Earl Workman, but he created the stupid goal, not the smart goal. So it's completely opposite of what people are familiar with this with the smart. So it's strategic, transformational, unrealistic, purpose-driven, innovative, and dynamic.
Yes.
So I love what you had said, what's our ceiling as far as what we think we should make? I have a number that is my stupid goal, but I keep wanting to come back to my realistic. And so, but if we go for the stupid goal, what if that brings us above what, our realistic goal was? So even if we didn't achieve that higher one, the crazy one, we still went above what we were going to keep ourselves at. So I love that. And thank you for this group again. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Love that, Kimberly. Thank you for sharing that. If you don't set that stupid goal, you're not going to hit it. You're just not. You're not going to hit it. And if you set it, what if you do? How do you know you can't? Talk to me, Brian. Brian, you're probably on mute. You disappeared off the screen, so I don't see you.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Okay, talk.
Okay. All right. I was very lucky to have great parents and a great father and great mentors young in my career. And, if you do what everybody else does, you're going to get what everybody else gives and gets, right? And I always thought, how can I do it differently and be better and create a longer term plan? And I think it's so funny in this industry when you talk about legacy wealth and building more than just that next transaction and whatnot, how our job is to help people buy and sell homes, but yet we forget to buy ourselves. And I think every one of us would raise our hands if we believe that real estate is going to be worth a lot more in the next 10 and 20 years, right?
Right.
And it's not too late. To build personal wealth and help ourselves do what we help others do, right? And so, I was always taught early in my career, put things on 15-year loans.
Mm-hmm.
15-year loans. Like I know there's finance majors out there, that believe in 30, but 15-year loans go by so quick. You pay so much less, and that's how you build wealth, right? Which means you have to buy a better deal.
That's right.
So your standards are higher, right? And so I just love this conversation about building way more than what we do in our day job and building a legacy for our family, because it's so important, because so many real estate agents end up absolutely broke and can't quit, like you said. And it's just it's not that's not necessary or a requirement when you get your license to do that.
No, agreed. Crystal, I love it when you put your hand up. Talk to me. You're on mute.
I was thinking last night about, my husband and I came from both two single parents, and we were just talking about being happy versus not being happy. Mm. But I think I had it in my mind that it was like you were either happy or not happy, but it's not, you can be happy and always striving to do more. That's right. It's not one or the other. Does that make sense? And I think I always thought if you weren't happy, then you were just complaining and negative, but that doesn't, so I had to work that out in my mind.
Big breakthrough, Crystal. There's a difference between being happy and settling. Okay. And if you ask me, what's my greatest challenge? It's people settle. They settle. They settle for less than they're capable of. They settle for good when great is still an option. Crystal, you're amazing, and your future is bright. I've got 9:33 and time for one more. Let's go, Russ.
John, probably one of the most valuable calls you've ever done as long as I've been listening. For the young people, this was a huge, huge call. And take heed of what was said today. They're all important. This was a great call. Thank you for the value.
I appreciate you saying that. I honestly do. That's a wrap, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your success journey. Make it a great day. And I will see everybody tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hundreds of agents have leveled up their systems and listings with Coach John's coaching. Your turn starts here. Scan the QR code to schedule your session.